Hello, I always say that when I wake up in the morning, I consider myself blessed because the gift of being alive can only come from God, not because I did so much. But then they say heaven helps those that help themselves. So, in being alive, well, and healthy, you need a bit of your own part to play. That's why we are going to be revisiting something we started last week. That's conversations on female hygiene. My name is Elizabeth. Now, I know that last week a lot of us asked questions that we could not exactly answer you, and we are going to do better than that because we have someone who is better vested to do that for us. But before I get to bring whether it's a he or her, let's start introducing the house, Joy.
My name is Joy Obenachi. It's good to be here this morning.
My name is Maimuna Umi Abdullah, Coach Didi. Good morning.
And I am Deva Hamat, your mom, and it's grand to be here.
And ta-da! Doctor?
I'm Dr. Phillips Ekbe. I'm a chief consultant gynecologist.
Okay, I always say that men who go into gynecology are men who are very particular about women, and I'm very particularly proud of them too. Thank you. All right, a bit of what happened last week we recaptured. Let's play it for you, and then we continue. All the questions that were asked here that has to do with gynecology, Dr. Philip will take care of it. But before then, let's see what happened last week.
Last week on Conversations, we spoke about female hygiene and covered all the bases, from how much toothpaste we need.
I mean, we've all seen toothpaste adverts now. They take it from this end to the other end of the brush. So I was just telling Okpanachi, I said, oh, so they do that so that the toothpaste will finish quickly, so that we'll buy new. Because the dentist is just telling us now that pea size is enough. So why is it that during the adverts they put it from one end of the brush to the other? And that's what everybody does because they think that's the proper thing.
And if you even put for a child, the child will tell you it's too small.
Yeah, because they eat it.
Filled.
They eat it.
And what the doctor said that no matter the quantity you put, it's a small something that actually does the cleaning. The other ones might leave excesses in your mouth. When you finish, you keep rinsing to remove the mouth.
How frequently we ought to wash our undergarments.
It's just like her. Honestly, I don't do white colors. There was a day I decided to let me do, what is it now? No. What is it? Why are you afraid of white bra? And I don't use bras anyway. I use sports bras.
Okay.
So I have a few whites. I hardly wear them. I do black. And I wear them twice. And that's it. But during very hot weather like now, once. Because you see, it all depends. When you sweat throughout the day, just like, when what's her name? Lizzie called me and told me that we're going to talk about hygiene today. I said, okay. So because we said we don't bath at night all the time, they decided to come and disgrace you now. So I think even that depends on the weather.
Yes.
How to clean up after a workout.
Yeah. It's important we learn. If you're a sports person, there is just no way you can finish with your exercise with all that sweat and keep the bra for the next day. Please.
No,
whatever
they
you work out,
that's what
whatever you work out with the bra, that's when you get crocro.
No, that is why you shouldn't. When you do that,
once you exercise the bra and the gym costume completely,
no, the problem
for me,
here
should be washed.
is that's why anybody who goes to the gym should have multiple
definitely
outfits.
Definitely.
It's very, very important because I know so many people who go to the gym and they dry their stuff.
Checking for lumps in our breasts.
Why we pay attention to personal hygiene around upper region, just the west, it's important we do our self-breast examination.
How to properly clean our intimate areas and more.
It's actually not advisable medically to go anywhere around the vagina because nature has provided its own protective fluid around there.
You're not supposed to wash it.
You're not supposed to wash it. That's the inside.
The inside.
The inside. Okay. So, but around it, where you have the labia covering and every other thing, you can use your soap and wash. Okay. And then talking about clean shave and all of that, it's your choice. But if you're going to grow hair, be it in your armpits or in between your legs, They all trap
Heartbeat.
water. If you want to, it's your choice. I may not want to. So it's your choice. But then the more hair you have, the more job you have, because you need to wash, deeper and stronger to remove oil and all of that. If you don't wash the area with soap, you're going to build bacteria on its own. And you wash, you don't rinse well, you also introduce another chemical bacteria.
As women, we should maintain overall care from youth to our advanced years. Thus, there is always more to learn.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take its pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh,
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. See if she wants to ask something. No, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
All right, that's what we did last week. And today, a lot of the questions that came in, I said we couldn't take them because some of them we needed to handle more professionally, since we're not gynecologists seated here just expressing ourselves as women. And luckily, the man who is in charge of women business is here, the gynecologist. I want to start immediately by asking you all the questions that came in around your department. And this one says, my name is Lucy. I am from Anambra State. I haven't slept with a man before. Obviously, she's a virgin. But I still have infections. What could cause it?
Well, thank you very much. Actually, she's feeling uncomfortable. She's having some discharges and itching, you understand? But that is not to say that she can say she has an infection. It could even be allergic reaction. Okay. For instance, she is telling you she has never had sex. So that means we must rule out sexually transmitted infection. So what is her personal hygiene? What does she do? Does she Dutch? Does she use Dettol to wash her private parts? Does she use soap so much? There could be a reaction actually. So also we've not seen her. We don't know if she's on the big side. We don't know if she has diabetes. So all these things put together can actually lead to that. It doesn't necessarily mean
somebody that has diabetes can have discharge.
Yeah, because of a lot of blood sugar, they are prone to infections. You understand? So that can also lead to discharge, especially yeast infection. So it's not okay to just say because she's not sexually active or she has never had sex before, therefore she cannot have infection. But also, it's also not only sex that leads to infection. You understand? So and also she lives with people. She may share soap, she may share towel. And on and on. And yeast infection particularly is very, very stubborn. And that is why sometimes for you to have adequate treatment, you have to probably discard all your underwears, or if you don't have the funds, you have to soak them in boiled water, and after that, let them iron them. That is, hang them to very dry.
Hang in the bathroom or outside the
Outside,
bathroom? Okay, in the
outside. Bathroom
sunlight.
doesn't have enough
Sunlight.
So let it dry very well, and then you use an iron to iron
Again
it.
on top.
Yes, on top.
Oh,
So this is
just to
because
kill
it has some things called spores, and those spores can survive even high temperature. And so after doing that, plus the treatment, then the chance of infection is highly reduced.
Wow. So you said sharing towels. I know that when I was growing
Even
up,
soap.
soap.
Yes.
Soap is supposed to kill.
not soap.
Well, you see, all soaps are not antiseptic, but even when they're antiseptic, like I told you, we really have to now profile those soap to know exactly are they really doing the work. Or you can leave your soap for a while wet. Sometimes you may see some things grow in it.
Yes.
So,
Really?
You
Or is
notice
it not
remember,
every
soap
day you use?
have smells, have all those things. What are those things they put in them that are causing all
Maybe
this
that's what
smell
you
and
keep.
rest of them? So,
You use one different.
it's you can't rule it out.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What's
So
this
it's
thing I hear
not
about
all-
toilet infection? I don't know. Is there anything like toilet infection?
Well, it's a common language that most women use, to say there is toilet infection, but there is nothing in the books, that tell you that this is toilet infection. You can actually have non-sexually transmitted infection and sexually transmitted infection. I think that is just
But what
it
if
is.
somebody who has an infection uses the loo, then you now go back there to use it?
Well, the chance of infection is not as bad as that, and that is why sometimes there really have to be good contact for there to be infection, and that is why it's also good to wash your body. You understand? Sometimes, or like maybe you are using the toilet, maybe in a public place, put tissue to douse the splashing, that it doesn't splash on your body, particularly for women. They don't stand peeing; they have to sit
Yes,
on it.
yes,
I think there should be particular extra care for women's conveniences. It
Hence
also
the
help.
toilet
And
infection
remember
there.
too that when somebody uses the toilet and doesn't wash her hands, she uses the same hand to hold the handle of the door.
Yes.
Then you hold the handle of
Yeah.
the door, and then you use it to pat your body. At the end of the day, you also transmit infection. So these are some of the ways it can actually happen.
This is very
But
risky.
not entirely sexual transmission. Yes.
That's really scary. There was something you mentioned as you were talking. You said maybe does she dodge and do stuff like that? And I know last week we talked about it, dodging and all of that.
It affected me when I did.
Yes, dodging is absolutely contraindicated because the way
You,
God
you
has,
spoke English now, contraindicated. What does
that
it
is
mean?
to say, not allowed.
Oh, okay.
It's not good because the way it is made or created, or God naturally created us, the vagina actually cleans itself. Actually the vagina is acidic. I think it has a pH of about 4. And so it's difficult for organisms to just stay there unless you change that pH. And so by the time you are dodging, they are removing the pH and allowing the organisms to grow freely because that pH is hostile to these organisms. Also remember too that there are normal organisms that live in the vagina that are called normal flora. They don't cause any infection. They're just okay there until you alter that environment such that they're now reduced or they now overgrow. So also that is why we also discourage the use of antibiotics indiscriminately because at the end of the day it may also kill the bacteria that resides in the vagina, and then the fungi will grow, which is more of yeast. Understand? So there are a lot of practices that we need to limit ourselves so that we don't expose ourselves to the risk of infection.
You said something about production. Me, I thought that time I'm woke.
It's a big girl.
Big girl matter that I have, arrived. So I thought it was really part of being somebody who is really concerned about hygiene. So when I read about Dutch, I said, let me enter that side. And just like her,
Yes,
I reacted to it.
Yes.
And you're not saying it's not encouraged.
Yes.
Then why are they selling it all over
I
the
was
place?
going to answer something.
Well, you
Because there are
see-
corporations that want to make money from your ignorance.
Well, not you see, people believe, and there are different ways of looking at things. Does not really mean there are no need to wash up but we encourage washing up with ordinary water. So, does not, but of course, we are in a world where a lot of cosmetics comes up. You want to smell good, you want to feel good. Yes, you touch, you feel good temporarily for that period, but the long-term effect is what we're talking about. So it's all part of it. Then again, maybe you're having an infection. You think it's just a discharge and you decide to touch. It will give you temporary relief, but that's not going to clear the infection. So eventually you still need to meet your physician, to do the appropriate treatment.
But what about the hair? The lower region, is it advisable to have hair?
One of the things I look at is that most of the things that come naturally in your body has a reason. For instance, your eyelashes. If you notice, if they throw something on you, you're going to blink and it's going to prevent. So hair, as it grows, is going to prevent foreign things from just getting into your private part.
So they act like soldiers.
Exactly. So it has a defensive mechanism. That is not to say that you should leave your hair to overgrow to become bushy. So of course, when it has overgrown, it's advisable to trim them down or to shave. Unfortunately, sometimes when you shave, you also cause problem because the shaving is not smooth enough. Then you begin to have maybe bumps and all the rest of them, and then you now cause further infection. But I mean, trim down, or even when you shave, you wash the area properly, the outside, not the inside. So it's hygienic to shave overgrown pubic hair and armpit hair and all the rest of them. Even our beard is hygienic.
If I may ask, because we're using a term all of us are conversant with here, but we have to make room for the fact that it's not everybody that will be familiar with these terms. What is douching or douching or dutching, or what is it? What really what does it imply?
Douching can be maybe local, and it can also be maybe modern. Let me use that word. Local means that when you're taking your bath, probably you put Dettol in your water or soap, and then try to manually push it in. Some people even push soap in to wash and the rest of them. While you have products that can easily fit into the vagina, you understand that you press and probably some fluids are released to clean up the place. While some also that insert Dutch, where you insert stuff, it dissolves and then wash it out. So those are different Dutching. Yes.
Okay, now you mentioned local treatment. I was reading a write-up, and actually there was a fight between the writer and some people who are in medical practice, where the writer said that you could use clove, the clove seeds, and do some kind of abracadabra kind of soaking, and then use it to wash if you have infection. And I'm wondering, clove is a spice. What's the connection between that, and is it safe? Because a lot of people were buying into it.
It may be difficult for me to entirely comment on that because I practice majorly orthodox medicine, things that have been researched. And when it's something that has been researched, you will know the safety, you know how safety it is, you know the complications, you know the side effect, so I may not be able to go into maybe alternative or traditional practice, but most things now are subjected to research. I wish this medical or alternative medicine do more research to say, okay, out of 1,000 women that will give this, so they have this symptom, how many that clear themselves. But one of the major things is that we shouldn't cause more harm to persons. And I, for one, maybe biased because I'm an orthodox medicine, I don't really encourage most of these things because I'm not sure of their effect, and I'm not sure their side effect, and I don't know if I can be able to handle the side effect. So I will not encourage it. Yes.
All right, somebody says here, doctor, I have been trying to conceive and it's difficult because they say I have PID. And my friend says that PID is caused from improper hygiene of my pubic area. Please help.
Thank you very much. Let me just establish it here that PID is pelvic inflammatory disease. It's actually a sexually transmitted infection.
Sexually?
Sexually
it's
transmitted
not toilet.
infection. It's not toilet infection. So, yes, definitely. So it's not caused by not shaving your pubic hair or cleaning or whatever, It comes actually from sex, and its way of causing infertility is actually a long-term effect, and this PID is not infection of the vagina. It's infection of the upper genital tract. That is to say, from the upper cervix, that is uterus, to the tubes, and to the ovaries around. So it's an ascending infection. Of course, it's gotten through the vagina, but it ascends upwards. And one of the major things it does is that it can infect the tubes and lead to tuber blockage. So that is how it will cause infection. Or of course, infect the inside of the uterus or inside of the womb, and probably also prevents implantation or close the womb. So uterine syncytia and the rest of them. So that is how PID, that is pelvic inflammatory disease, will cause infertility. And of course, the diagnosis has been abused by quite a lot, because you need to do proper investigation to be able to make a diagnosis of pelvic inflammatory disease.
That's why I
many
was
many
honestly
times
confused.
women just have discharge that are innocuous or ordinary, and at the end of the day they will say, oh, we have pelvic inflammatory disease. Some women go to do an ultrasound and they say, oh, there's fluid in the patch of Douglas, therefore the woman have pelvic inflammatory disease.
There's fluid where?
Inside the place called part of Douglas. That is
Part of Douglas.
part. Sorry, maybe I use medical term. There's fluid maybe behind the uterus. Of course, it's one of the signs, but does not mean that when fluid exists on its own, therefore it has it's now pelvic inflammatory disease. That criteria. Actually, if you go into PID, that criteria for making diagnosis of pelvic inflammatory disease. It's not something that anybody should just treat. Actually, you need to meet your doctor, and it is very common amongst the reproductive age, and it's one of the major implicators of infertility in our environment. Infection, PIDs among them, and that is why we encourage the use of condom, because PID ordinarily can be prevented totally by continuous use of condom. Apart from
Please, I need to say
preventing
something here,
unwanted
Doc.
pregnancy.
Why I need you to say this is because our viewers are watching and some parents are watching.
Yes.
When I was 22, 23,
Yes.
I had severe pain in my pelvic.
Yes.
It was so severe,
Yes.
I couldn't even stand to pray. And I remember I went to the clinic with my mom.
Yes.
Because I'm saying this is because you said it's a sexually transmitted disease.
Yes.
I was a virgin. And that doctor told me I had PID.
But maybe you had a UTI. What's the difference between PID and UTI?
Okay, thank you very much. Like I've already mentioned, that PID can be overdiagnosed, one, and two, I don't know if you told the doctor that you've never had sex.
Yes, I
you
did.
understand, and
But he had already told me I had it. Then he asked me.
You see,
He couldn't
diagnoses
Yeah, he
are
couldn't
not entirely sacrosanct. Sometimes you make a diagnosis and you have to do investigation to rule it out. So maybe most times we won't just now say, okay, because the doctor said. Doctor can actually change his diagnosis. He can say, this is from what you have told me, this is what I think. And then in the course of investigating you say, okay, fine, it's no longer this. There's also what they call bacterial vaginosis. You understand? You can also be having urinary tract infection that is causing that pain. It could be many other things. It could be cysts, it could be different things, it could be appendix. So the doctor have to rule out most of these things. Urinary tract infection is infection of all the places that the urine passes through to come out. And that ranges from the urethra, we call urethritis. That also bladder causes cystitis. The ureters, there's a difference between urethra and urethra. Urethra is the pipe that brings fluid or excretions from the kidney itself down to the bladder. Urethra is called pyelonephritis, and on, you understand? So it's a different thing from pelvic inflammatory disease. But you see, remember, they all occur together. You understand? They're in the same area. So it can also confuse you. You understand?
So there should be proper investigation before just...
They should investigate properly before
Because
you
imagine a
do
mother
something.
taking her daughter to the clinic and then she is told the daughter has PID and then honestly...
And you're telling your mom, I've never met
Yes,
you.
I mean, like, you're a doctor who is telling the truth.
Did your mom...
No, we didn't even know.
Remember that your mom also may not have known that PID is a sexually transmitted
Exactly.
No, that's
That's
what
what
I'm
I
saying
was
this now
going to
because
ask.
people are watching,
Yes.
and some others are watching, and they could probably go to the clinic with their daughter. So that's why I needed you to say, and I needed this to come out because a doctor can actually say that, and then the child is
Well,
innocent.
this is clearly a misdiagnosis.
Let me make you understand something. When you meet a doctor, he's going to take your history first. History accounts for about 70% of the diagnosis. So at the point of history, he's going to line up. Do you understand? He's going to line up many diagnoses that he's going to rule out from examining, from your examination and investigation. So the fact that he said you have low abdominal pain, some discharge, you're running temperature. If I'm just standing and you ask me, what are the possible causes? Pelvic inflammatory disease will be one of them until we rule out that you have not had sex. You understand what I'm saying? You know. And also remember, with all due respect, there are so many reproductively young Nigerians that will tell you they've not had sex, but they've had sex. You see, you're telling us you've not had sex. It's your word against ours. We can't doubt you. But I'll tell you, we have met a lot of female patients who said, they said they've not had sex, but pregnancy test is positive.
Exactly. Exactly. There's a whole program on DSTV.
Yes, so we can't entirely. A doctor is not going to just
baby.
just based on you, and he's just going to believe. He's not going to accept everything you are saying. He has to confirm them. You understand?
Yes.
And so for now, you say, oh, it's like saying. All the people that lives in Ibadan are Yorubas. It's not necessarily so,
right.
I mean, you get there and you see the different persons that lives there. But you say, oh, what is the highest population in Ibadan? Say, oh, Yorubas.
Okay, so doctor, before I move away from the gyno questions, there's another disease I hear. I don't know if it's also affecting, our fertility level. It says Staphylococcus aureus.
Okay.
So a lady had been on our matter for a very long time. She said each time she goes, they say the staff know they go.
Is it something to do with hygiene also?
No,
that's what I want to know.
I think it's transmitted from men.
Is it hygiene
from the
problem?
opposite sex.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very important question. I'm sure that I can say that's one of the most important questions you have asked in this program, and the public need to be educated. Staphylococcus aureus is a bacteria that is almost not harmful. 95%. As we're talking, is resident in all of us.
Including
all
me.
of us.
No, excluding you.
In our nails, in our armpit, on this table, everywhere. You understand? So it doesn't cause any infection. So anytime you are going to do any investigation, maybe urine, maybe swab from the vagina, even from the mouth, from anywhere, it's not unusual to culture Staphylococcus aureus is like that around in bunches. You understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't cause infection. Unfortunately, when you see, the laboratory scientists have to report what she or he saw, and say, oh, I saw Staphylococcus aureus. Do you understand? Does not mean it's causing infection. It's more or less something that is there accidentally. However, yes, of course, it can cause infection in people with immunocompromised state. For instance, HIV, tuberculosis, and very malnourished people. Not in any of us as we are. Then there's a bigger thing about it. Because it's always seen in cultures, most of our tradomedical people who you see in the marketplaces with their microphone, we shout the name Staphylococcus aureus, causing this, causing that. And because you are seeing it in the culture most of the time, you are scared that is a problem. I know, you see how the name sounds. It sounds very, very...
It's because of the name. It sounds alarming.
It's calm when somebody comes and says, oh, your culture is showing Staphylococcus aureus. You will think the whole world is falling. Are you ready to part with all the money you have? I can tell you that Nigeria is losing a whole lot of fund in the treatment of Staphylococcus aureus. Not by doctors, but by non-doctors, by the and they give you antibiotics, they give you herbs that can even mess up your kidney and the rest of them. Unfortunately, we are a democracy and fundamental human right. It's difficult to just interfere. You understand? As you see today, everybody's struggling for rights. The medical doctor rights, the traditional doctor rights, the alternative medicine right. Regulation. The National Assembly have given, all of them different regulations to regulate themselves. So at the end of the day, it's actually very difficult. But what is most important is people's education. Unfortunately, internet may not be helping because anything you put in the internet is available for anybody. Google. And people, if you open the internet, you see both the one written by Orthodox and the one written by the traditional persons and the rest of them. But I make bold to say here today that most of the diagnosis or cultures of Staphylococcus aureus is not causing any infection in that person. You must look for the cause of the infection. Unfortunately, some of the things that causes infection are not culturable in the environment because of cost availability and the rest of them. So we use history, and discretion to know that this is what it is. I think even one of the commonest infections in women is yeast, followed by what they call bacterial vaginosis, which is a misinfection that also occur there, and these things are all treatable, but they are not caused by Staphylococcus aureus, and are not sexually transmitted infection.
Okay, good to know. And
the only other thing also I want to mention is that, having mentioned that PID is a sexually transmitted disease, I've mentioned that use condom. It prevents unwanted pregnancy and prevents infertility, and also prevent infection. Women should also take up vaccination, vaccine against cancer of the cervix, because cancer of the cervix is also a sexually transmitted disease. You need to know that, and that is why you hardly see it among those who are not sexually
virus,
active.
right?
And that is why there is need. Yes, it's caused by HPV virus. HPV virus is sexually transmitted, and so use of condom helps it. Vaccine is available for it. You understand that? Women from age 9 to 15 should be able to.
9 to 15, if you're above that.
If you're above that, you can still use it, but it's most effective.
It's most effective when you're younger.
Now they're also beginning to give male children of that same age group because of not because of homosexualities and all the rest of them. They begin to be implicated too, and there be also transmission of it by the male partner. So this is something we all encourage. For the vaccines against human papilloma virus. I just want to use the opportunity to chip it in, because the uptake, although it's very expensive, we're also appealing to the government to include it in the national program immunization, subsidize it, and then that will prevent a great deal of women, including Nigeria, dying from cervical cancer. Because most times the diagnosis is made very late, when it's already advanced, when it's difficult for us to treat. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's something very critical that came out that we're trying to gloss over. That there's a high tendency, when a woman suffers any kind of infertility, the assumption is, she was misbehaving before she got married, so she's knocked herself up by maybe having some procedures that. But the thing is, from what I'm hearing, your spouse can go out, bring PID home to you, get your tubes blocked, and people will be out there mocking you, calling you names and things like. And usually, all this toilet infection, women didn't sit down and invent the term. You go to hospital, they discover that it's a PID or an STD.
Thank you.
And they don't want you to know that your spouse has not been kind to you. So don't worry about it, it's a toilet infection. And you begin to wonder how many toilets you have visited. Excuse me,
I
sir.
have to interject.
Let me just land, then you can disagree. So, it's a PID, but you got it from a toilet. Yeah, don't worry about it. And I'm using my toilet alone. So you begin to wonder, what's going on? By that time, possibly whatever damage needs to be done has already happened in your system. You see, it's not easy for most women to insist on using protection with their partner, with their husband, if you're married. It's not a common thing in marriage, except if you're actively.
You don't trust me anymore.
Except if you're actively trying to prevent pregnancy, and most times men will tell the woman to go and do this one or do the other one or do the other one, rather than just use this plastic, which they clearly have no intention with using with women outside. So I think, no, seriously, because if a man brings home PID to give his wife, then clearly he's not protecting himself outside.
You're just drawing conclusion that men go outside. I think women don't go outside.
No, but of course, the woman can go outside and bring it too.
Yes, exactly. So
there's that.
So I wanted to
but
balance.
But she's not passing anything.
So you have to balance your statement. No, it does, because
she
goes outside.
But guess what? Most women go outside and bring it.
Yes. So you have to balance.
Most. Not most. I still, whenever this most is used, it doesn't work for me, because even if I'm not speaking for myself, I don't have any married women telling me, I have this boyfriend here and that one there and that one there.
She's not going to tell you.
No, but you said that they tell you.
Yeah, honestly.
Because I'm saying,
why are they not telling me? Is it because I'm too?
No, you see, you have.
I talk too much.
No, you have a. There are some people, when you see them, you really can't tell them
certain things. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't.
You see, I will not say that you're judgmental.
I am.
Okay, fantastic.
I am, because
So
if you are my
said
friend and you are married and you're coming to tell me about your
So they're
boyfriend,
not going to tell you.
we're probably going to go our separate ways.
I'm somebody who, I'm open. So everybody says anything. And guess what? If it makes you happy, that's it.
Well, I see about what Devon said, really. You know that this thing people keep saying, everybody cheats. I say it's not true.
It's not true.
Not that I don't cheat, so it cannot be everybody.
Not everybody.
No, somebody.
Yeah, that's why some really broad generalizations worry me. Yeah,
it's
like,
not everybody.
It's not okay.
It's not everybody.
It's not okay. And yes, I'm a very live and let live, but there's a kind of space I won't put myself in. So if you and I are very divergent on things that I feel are very, very important to me.
Your values don't align.
Well, our values don't align, so we'll be like hi and everything, but we'll not be close. We will not be closer. And if that is what being judgmental is, then I own it.
Yeah, I am judgmental.
Because they say that birds of a feather flock together. And then the next thing they'll say, because she has 3 friends that are married and they are fooling around, she probably is too. And that's not my story.
Doc,
you know,
please,
I feel as if certain things.
Because honestly, it's common. Many women have said it. They've gone to the hospital and they are told they have a small infection.
It's a toilet infection. Meanwhile, it's a PID that's ruining you on the inside.
So, what do you think?
I'll answer you appropriately. You see, I want you to disabuse your mind. You're being social about this.
That's a many women.
First of all, when you are treating your patient, you must understand your patient. Okay. Understand the psychology of your patient. You know, there are ways of also passing information. But I also tell you that, you know, for instance, there are languages that you don't have in a local way or how to describe it for the person. Yeah. Do you understand? And there are also ways to also counsel patients psychologically. You know, I've seen a patient that you probably after counseling and told the patient you have HIV. Some went committed suicide. You understand what I'm saying? That way you have done the worst thing for that person. You know. So I don't want us to look at that, but I also tell you that, like we're discussing here, pelvic inflammatory disease is not just so common as, you know what I mean? It's not something that any discharge you see is pelvic inflammatory disease. No, the doctor has to go further. Do you understand? And so if you are pushing him to tell you pelvic inflammatory disease when he has not gone further, he'll be giving you wrong information.
No, we're talking about where the doctor has already said this is the issue.
Whenever a doctor have already maybe taken your history, examined you, and done investigation, and saw that it's pelvic inflammatory disease, he's going to sit down and tell you truthfully that this is what you have, and this is what is causing it. And I'll tell you one truth. The doctor will do what they call contact tracing. You understand? You know, that's why I don't want us to make some assumption, because I'm also wondering the doctor you met, I hope it's my really colleagues, you understand? Yeah. Because the doctor will do, because you're going to come back again and again if he doesn't treat your contact. You understand? So you're going to do contact tracing.
So you will ask for your partner to come around.
Partner, sometimes run investigation and give drugs, you understand? Not just for you and for your partner, I even counsel you and your partner. I mean, this is what happens in the clinic. Do you understand? You know. Meanwhile, if it is, like we said, discharge, like we had been discussing, that has to do with hygiene. It's easy to try to explain, which I've mentioned to you. I mean, soap is in the toilet. So it's not a toilet infection. You understand? I've just told you how you hold your hands and touch something. So sometimes it will be a better way of trying to make you, calm you down, that it's not PID, but it's an infection that you need to treat. You understand? So, you know, it's not, it's actually, you can't just sit down, see a patient, and the next thing is PID. So
no, I think we've gone past what you are saying. I'm talking of when it is definitive.
I'm telling you that
and the tests have been
doctor,
done.
No doctor will have a definitive diagnosis of pelvic inflammatory disease until it's toilet infection, and don't even go further to do contact tracing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're not hearing me. Let me land, because I brought this up. I'm talking of a situation where PID is diagnosed and you're trying to like, okay, so what's this about? How did I come about it? And things like, oh, don't worry, you probably got it from a toilet and things like this. Are you trying to tell me that there's no gynecologist that would...
No, come on. No, you see, that is what I'm trying to tell you. That,
because
see,
I'm talking
I'm
from a wealth of experience, from conversations had with people, women who have been in such situations.
Well, you see,
and we're told that, don't worry, it's just toilet infection.
When we make comment,
when you take this medication, you'll be fine.
Which doctor did those women meet? You understand? I'm a doctor, you're talking to me here, and I have colleagues and I work with them, and we have a lot of.
We have a lot of quacks anyway. I think
That's
that's
what I
what
wanted
he's
to
trying to
say.
say.
Yeah,
There are a lot of quacks who
depends
can
on where
actually
you-
mislead you.
Yeah.
doctor,
As a matter of fact, not long ago, from a government hospital, I read that there was a quack doctor who was, caught in the act.
Got in which act?
In the act of practice, in a government hospital.
Okay,
here
he
in
was
Abuja. I don't
a
know
quack
the
that he was passing
Yes,
himself
and
off as
he's
a...
been there for like
Yes.
12
Yes,
years.
I
working.
wanted to ask the gynae, when there are certain things like is it gonorrhea and all that, when the men have it within 2-3 days it shows,
It manifests.
but when they sleep with a woman it doesn't manifest. So
Immediately. It takes time.
and it takes a longer time. What do you advise?
Okay, I will explain
Yes.
to you. You see, the anatomy of the penis is different from that of the vagina.
Okay.
The only opening
It's for the vagina.
that comes from the penis is a smaller opening and longer. You understand? So it's bound, when there is gonorrhea infection, it's bound to cause a quicker symptom compared to the woman whose vagina probably has gonorrhea. It is, the vagina is bigger. That is why babies can pass through. So it's able to accommodate such infection. Do you understand what I'm saying? And may not manifest like I say manifested in a man, where the man wants to go and pee and have difficulty in peeing with pains and the rest of them. So it's not like it's not in the woman, but it's not manifesting until probably it gets more copious or more florid, and then there will now be maybe more discharge and smell, and maybe she meets a doctor, and of course again maybe now leads to PID. It can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, and PID goes beyond just discharge. There is of course low abdominal pain. Sometimes there is infection, you understand, and there is discharge. Patient, if you see a patient with PID, sometimes it's very toxic. You have to admit, and sometimes we as doctors, we understand that upper genital tract infection can cause infertility. So when a woman of reproductive age comes to meet us and is complaining of certain infection, even although we kick against misuse of antibiotics, but sometimes we are tempted to treat for prevention, especially if you're in a system where things like chlamydia cannot be cultured, gonorrhea cannot be cultured, you understand? So you now treat based on history or empirically to prevent the chance of tuber blockage in the future. There is something she was talking about that I don't want us to throw away, which was social, you understand, which we cannot go into it. Sex is usually had not in the open place, you understand? So the issue of cheating or not cheating, you understand, is not advertised. In as much as we condemn it, yes, it's obviously for the way the culture is. It is man that is outside that is shameless. Why it is woman that has shame? After all, if your clothes get torn now, I'm going to put my suit and give to you. If my own get torn, you're not going to put your clothes and give to me. So we also have to understand.
Dr. Philip is protecting the male fake.
I'm saying that we should balance it. I'm not encouraging the males to go ahead to do that. Neither am I encouraging the female. But we should not lump it as if it is,
one person,
a burden of men.
Doctor, wouldn't it be bizarre if I sit here and start
honestly, this is a women's conversation.
This is a women's conversation. I have to talk about things that affect me and women folk.
Well, okay,
you
fine.
Understand?
So
Doctor,
maybe,
you have
and you have adequately protected men.
What we should just do is that we should.
You have spoken for the men.
We should make all this conversation protect women and turn the men to sinners.
No, you protected them. That's why you're here.
Definitely.
You gave your own
because
side.
she brought this up. I think we should even talk about this more. I have a friend years ago who went. She never really went to school. She stopped at secondary school. And I remember I went to visit and we were talking. She wasn't feeling well. And then she told me she had gone to the clinic. She'd been having. Bottom line, I saw the prescription. I saw this thing. She said I barely read it, but I know something about warts. And just like you said, genital warts. And just like you said, she was it's one of those things. So they didn't make her understand that it's actually an STD. So when that was the first time I saw the genital warts because it was written. So I googled it, and just like you, I couldn't tell her because the doctor did not tell her that it is me that will tell her. But that's the point. Believe me, I don't know about Abuja, but in local areas, they don't tell them. And this is
I'm
common.
talking,
I've had
the situations I raised are all Abuja.
Okay,
They're all
see.
very, very high scale hospitals.
They don't tell.
I'm not talking about women who are stark illiterates. I'm talking about women who are educated. And the thing is, no doctor wants to have that husband come raging
Yes.
in.
They
So
don't
you are the
tell
one
them.
that told
Yeah,
my
no,
wife
they
that
don't
did
tell.
it. It's like that. I recall because there was a time I was cutting my hair.
Also, can you say
Sorry,
no doctor
sir.
want to offend that woman that is well dressed like you, coming in and say, so it is management of
Exactly, I agree. I recall there was a time I was shaving my hair off, and I used to go to barbing salons to do this. And one time I went, and the guy was like, he wouldn't attend to me. He was taking forever. I'm sorry. So I pressed him. I was like, I beg, I know one can get problem after with your husband. Apparently, there are men that will go and attack barbers for shaving their wives' heads.
You know, a whole
So
lot
there's
of
more to
messages.
this
A
whole
whole lot of
thing,
messages are coming in. I don't know how I'm going to manage because I just let you people talk, but people are asking a lot of questions. Let me see the much I can take. My name is Mohammed Sani Hadi Jigawa State. Thanks so much to NTA for doing justice to this topic. Okay, getting this very intelligent gynecologist, doctor. I am and a health practitioner. I've learned a lot from the conversation. Thank you, NTA. God bless NTA. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see again. Can a woman who is having tubal blockage see her menses? Doctor, is it a yes or no?
Yes, she can see her menses.
Okay. So there is no time. I'm rushing with these things. Beautiful house. Morning. Good morning. I'm glad for this topic discussed. Please, doctor, I want to ask, how do I treat myself in order to avoid infection? And is it necessary? She does not have infection. She wants to take treatment to avoid it.
Well, we don't give drug to prevent infection, but since hygiene, like I've mentioned, is very important, and if she's sexually active, use of condom is important, but not, we're not talking about husband and wife now, because we expect that husband and wife holy in quote. Do you understand? So yeah.
Okay, you're talking about condom. Somebody from Port Harcourt, he said his name is Chiemela Isaac. That condom is no longer that protective. I don't know where that is coming from, but
well, you see, even condom have appropriate use, way of using it, way of putting it. You understand? So if we don't use it properly, you may get what you are trying to prevent. For instance, after intercourse, the man shouldn't leave the penis there with the condom when the penis is now wobbly, because the fleas are going to come out from the side and still infect her or get her pregnant. You understand? And of course, when the condom bursts, it's enough to quickly withdraw, and although so it's appropriate usage.
Okay. Now, still on female hygiene, I'll try to answer most of the question. I'll let you please answer. Somebody is busy snapping your pictures and sending to me. I don't know why. But anyway, say he likes your program. So I want to know, women wear cotton and nylon underwears. What are the consequences of each, for the health of that environment?
All right. Ordinarily, cotton underwear is usually preferable, because it generates less heat and less sweat. So compared to nylon underwears, so in that way you're able to prevent. You understand? Able to prevent infection that will come as a result of maybe, let's say, sweat, wetness, and that's why, like I said, even when you're washing your clothes, it should be very, very dry. And of course, friction from the kind of pants you wear, like tongs and the rest of them, can also cause reaction and all that. So it's basically that, not that there is any big deal about it. If you are wearing a nylon underwear, but that is bogus, and it may not be the same problem like when it's tight.
Okay. All right, lots of questions. Let me see. Good morning, please. When a lady is in her period, is it good? Can she still get pregnant? This is not medical. If you want to consult with doctor, go to doctor's office and consult with him. I'm talking about cleanliness, and my time is almost up. But I want us to leave I don't want us to leave without talking about the female hair. Just quickly, can you talk to us about female hair?
About female hair, you see, I before we started the show, I complained about because we wear wigs. Our inner hair is really terrible, and that's why most of the time, if you're sleeping with your spouse, there's always a problem, because they always say the hair is smelling. Because those days when we used to have our wigs on, it was worse because you go to the gym, the wetness dries up by itself. The next day you go, it's a routine. So most of the time spouses are comfortable with the smell, or they try to get used to the smell, which is really terrible. But the thing now is that the wigs have worsened it, because if our wigs fly off now, when you see the inner hair, it's really terrible. I think the basic thing I always tell people, the first thing, the hair has to be properly.
All right. Quickly.
Neat.
What can I say about wig? What can I say
Because
about
you
wig?
don't wear
I don't
them.
wear wig.
But you have hair under it now.
Yeah, so for me, honestly, the wig, it just wash. My hair is natural. I just have a lady who comes in, she washes it, she makes it for me.
And you're good with it. All right.
Don't keep any hair, especially the one you've braided, Bob Marley, all these things. Don't keep it for too long. It traps sweat and that smells. If you want to keep it for long, you can use methylated spirit to clean your scalp. When you've kept it for up to 3 weeks or so, you can actually wash and dry it, although that makes it start looking a bit freezing and old and all that, and you don't want that look. So don't just keep it for too long. If in doubt, just go straight out and ask your spouse, sweetheart, is my hair starting to smell? But what I do is I run my hands through my scalp and sniff. But if I'm still not certain, I just straight up ask him, is my hair smelling? If it is, please let me know, because I have to wash this and I'm not yet ready to take it out. But if it's smelling, tell me. So please don't keep your hair too long. It smells.
Okay, our time is almost up. I wish I had more time. But
You
whatever
can cut,
you do,
you can shave
you
the
can
hair.
cut your hair.
Exactly,
Cut your hair.
cut your hair and
This
wash
is
it
what do they call
regularly.
it again?
This is the
Bonnet.
The
This is bonnet.
yeah.
Please avoid this. Because
Our
it
weather is
traps-
too hot.
It's
Oh, no.
too hot for
It's
this
too hot.
weather. It
And it's
traps
too
the
heavy.
heat. It traps the heat.
Yeah.
Your scalp doesn't get to
Go
breathe.
for the net.
Go for
that
the
has
net.
Your
the
net
holes.
works. If
Yeah.
you're living
Yes.
in Jos,
Yes.
if you're living in Jos or it's
well,
very
I can't
cold, you
eat in
can.
my area, but
Yes.
I just think that anything done in moderation is what's important.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, wig and weave on is enhancement, makes people beautiful. You know, so
Natural hair.
But it still smells.
yeah, well, just what I'm trying to say, I say moderation. I mean, you have dryers, you can pull off your wig at night. You understand what I'm saying?
And use your hand dryer.
Yes.
All right, doctor. My director is on me. All right. Buy the doctor's idea. We'll see you again next week. Ciao, ciao.